let me first introduce myself. My name is Alan Lau, CEO and co-founder of Wattpad. As a refresher, Wattpad is an app that lets people discover and share stories. Wattpad stories range from science fiction to romance stories to fan fiction and everything in between. We have 45 million monthly users, and they're spending over 15 billion minutes on Wattpad. And we also partner with the entertainment industry to co-produce popular Wattpad stories for print, TV shows, movies, and other digital platforms. So we are really an entertainment company. So let me ask, which year did Wattpad start? Can anyone answer me? 2006. Well, you didn't count, you work for Wattpad. But that answer was right, 2006. So this is a picture that I took in my basement. I was holding the phone, like helping the phone to take a selfie, like this. And as you can see, I was reading Moby Dick. And 10 years later, this is the new product that you can download today. It's mixed media, it has images, it has video, you can interact, you can connect, you can build a community if you're a writer. So very, very different products. So the product evolved a lot. And this is a picture that I took 6 years ago when we had our first office. Before that, the two co-founders, me and Ivan, we were working from home for 3.5 years. We could not afford an office. So this office that you are looking at is a 200 square feet place, and we packed 11 people. And Ivan in the corner, when he had to walk out of the room, he has to push everyone aside. And to take this picture, I had to ask my neighbor to basically take the picture outside of the door frame. That's how small this room was. And today, we have 110 people working in this office at Yonge and Wellington. So this is the evolution of the company. So you looked at the evolution of the product, evolution of the company, but what I want to talk about today is evolution as an entrepreneur. So you are a visionary, you have brilliant ideas, and you have that idea in your mind that you really want to execute. But I also want to share with you, at least 5 of my friends, they were telling me, I had that Facebook idea. I had this idea for the longest time. But I was telling them, what separates you, who has the idea, from Mark Zuckerberg is he actually did it. He did the prototype, right? We all know that. But after the prototype, it's not it. The next step, you have to find the product market fit. The prototype only works for you. You don't know if there's any customer or any user out there would use your product or buy your services. So you have to find the product market fit. And then afterwards, you start to see traction. You want to build your company, you have to hire people. Before you know, you became a manager, you became a leader in your company. That's a very, very different skill set. And finally, you have to figure out how to build a business, how to generate revenue, how to generate profits. So these 5 phases require very, very different skill sets. From idea to prototype to building the product, to building the company, be a leader in your company, and building the business, go out fundraising, figure out what EBITDA is, and sometimes you have to say GitHub and CPM in EBITDA in a single sentence. So this is the evolution of an entrepreneur. And I have yet to meet a single person when he or she started the company would possess all the skills that I talk about, from writing code to building the product, to designing the product, to figure out finances, to pitch to investor, to hire salespeople, be an HR person, you name it. I can go on for the entire day. So, as an entrepreneur, be prepared. As your company scales, you are getting a new job every, by the way, there's a typo there. It's not 12, it's 2 months. You are getting a new job every 2 months. So the takeaway from this is entrepreneurship is very glamorous, and it's actually pretty cool. But you have to understand, it's also very, very challenging. It's a life learning experience. Entrepreneurship is all about learning and self-improvement. And remember, if there's one takeaway, the best product that you want to build is not necessarily the product. The best product that you want to build is yourself. Thanks for listening. Any question?
So when you had the Wattpad idea, how did you validate the idea against the customers? Because as I understand, it's a social or commercial idea.
We validate the idea. Well, we started the company because both Ivan and I, we love to read. So in a way, we built the product for ourselves. I built the mobile reading app so that I can carry the reading material to wherever I go. That's how we started. But to validate the idea, what we did was prototype, throw this out, and see if anyone would be using it. And I just want to add, in the first year, we thought, before we launched the product, we thought we would sign up 1 million users in the first year. We were spot on, except that we missed by a few zeros. We signed up 1,000 people in the first year. So that idea actually was invalidated, but sometimes if you believe in your idea, you do 1 million things on the side. We had part-time jobs, we did consulting on the side to keep us going. And then after 2.5 years, the product started to take off. It's broken.
For your 2-year rhythm, do you find that those decisions for you are directional based on what you do best of the challenges you're facing, or are your hands tied by the context of what your company's doing?
The first 2 years, right?
Well, the 2-month rhythm. So
the 2 months rhythm. The question was, every 2 months, do you define by the direction of? Sorry,
Is it based on a set of directions that the company can take, or are your hands tied to kind of one thing that you have to do every year?
Is it based on this direction of the company, or your hands are tied based on the circumstances, basically? That's what you asked, right? In a way, it's based on the phase of the company and also based on the circumstances. For instance, you cannot control who would leave the company, for instance, right? If you have a hole in the company, you have to figure out what to do. You have to find a gap. If you need to have, if you realize you don't have enough money, you may need to look for fundraising, for instance. Then you have to learn how to pitch the investors. In a way, it's the circumstances that force you to learn whatever gap is in the company. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Hey.
I've heard you talk about the advantage of working in Toronto and having your company set in Toronto. Could you just speak to that since we are at a TechTO event?
Yeah, there are, Toronto or Canada in general has a very good education system, good schools. We have talents for sure. Our cost of doing business is lower than in Silicon Valley, for instance. We have, it's a very good place to live. It's consistently ranked as number 1 and number 2 in the world. And these are all good things, but Silicon Valley and many other places, they have these things as well. So these are our advantages, but not our unfair advantages. But one thing that I would say Toronto is very, very unique, very few places have, is our diversity. And if you look at the crowd here, right? In Toronto in general, 51% of the population, they were born outside of Canada. So in my company, for example, we have 110 people, and I would say more than half of our company are bilingual or multilingual, and that allows us to have international manager for Turkey, international manager for Philippines, international manager for Spanish, international manager for Portuguese, and they are all in a single location and connected, work together. That's very, very hard to do in other places. I don't think even in the Valley you can easily do that.
Last question.
Hi. What would you be doing if Wattpad didn't work out for you?
Perhaps start another one. I started to. Well, I started. Wattpad wasn't my first company. It's my third one. I failed the first one. I raised $30 million in funding in my first one and burned them all. Not a lot of people had the opportunity to burn $30 million, and I got a scar on my back. That's number one. And the second company actually started a year after I started Wattpad, because Wattpad wasn't working. So we had to do a million things on the side, including started another company, and we were very fortunate that that company, also started by Ivan and me, we sold that company a year after we started. So after we sold the company and worked for the acquirer for another year, Wattpad started to take off, and we were doing Wattpad part-time for 2.5 years. So it was a pretty interesting phase of my life. It's very challenging, but in a way I love to start company, but I can guarantee that Wattpad is my last one. I promised my wife that.
Thanks so much.